get this thing started. I myself am excited to just learn more about wildlife trafficking and learn more about whether I'm going to be for or against the burning of wildlife products. I don't know where I'm going to go yet. Again, my name is Chaz Kaiser, and I'm excited to be your moderator. I am a representative of WABIC, West Africa Biodiversity and Climate Change Fund. We are a very proud supporter of Kali Etch, the organizer of this event. We work throughout West Africa promoting conservation. And we have three main focuses. Combating wildlife trafficking, which of course is key for this event, because we're going to be talking about the burning of wildlife products. Increasing resistance to coastal change, to climate change in coastal regions, and reducing deforestation and forest degradation, which is kind of a long way to say, we love our forests, we protect our forests. So I'm just excited to be here because of that. As a moderator, my job is to help everything run smoothly, keep them from getting into fistfights, which I know they wouldn't do anyway, right? And to kind of, keep you from quieting down if you get maybe too excited about your team. All right? The debate teams are going to be talking about one specific topic. Okay, the motion is the destruction of wildlife products confiscated through wildlife crime combating activities is the ideal move toward wildlife protection and sustaining life on Earth. We have the first affirmative, the principal speaker.
A very good morning to our panel of judges, respected guest speakers, our audience as well as our timekeeper. I'd like to begin by thanking you for giving us the opportunity and platform to be able to speak for those who count, our beloved animals. Today we're gathered here because we're all concerned about the best interest of our planet. And today's topic is not just about the destruction of wildlife, but rather the importance of these animals to us and our cultural identities. Poaching poses an increasingly dangerous threat to the collapse of ecosystems and the entire extinction of species. Here in Africa, we lose one of our elephants every 15 minutes. And despite the fact that we all know these numbers, we haven't taken any severe action. My first point today is that selling ivory is illegal. A lot of the people think of burning mangroves when they think of burning ivory. They only think of ivory for its monetary value, and I think that needs to stop. Suggesting that our government should be able to sell these wildlife products wouldn't make sense unless we expect our government to operate under the black market. Saying this would mean that our governments and countries would have to drop out of the CITES Convention, and even if they did drop out, they wouldn't have anyone to legally sell to. My second point is that of economic sense and danger. People would say that we should open wildlife products up to the market in order to drive down the price and then deter poachers by putting them out of business. However, it is extremely harmful to make such simplistic economic arguments because you can never fully predict the relations between supply, demand, and price. I believe that by opening up this market to a wider audience, the only thing we are going to do is place these animals and products in even more danger by driving up demand and playing into the needs and hands of poachers and traffickers. My third point is that of poor management. Despite the fact that a number of nations have comprehensive legal systems, we need to understand that the task of handling wildlife products has been assigned to a number of agencies. It's been assigned to customs officers, police officers, etc., but the illicit trade of these products still continues unabated. I think the reason for this current situation is none other than the lack of cooperation and coordination amongst these agencies. It's important we restore the coordination amongst them in order to bring change. My fourth point is the lack of resources and corruption. According to Crawford Allen of the Wildlife Fund and Traffic, building storage facilities for animal products is extremely expensive, and a number of nations lack the resources and funds to be able to build these storage facilities, not to mention secure them. When these storage facilities are secured ineffectively, it allows corrupt officials to be selling out these products out the back door. I ask you, if we haven't got the money nor the resources to be able to protect these products, what do we do? Because I know I will put it out of temptation, and destroying it is the only effective method of doing so. My third point is that of climate change. I can already anticipate my opponents talking about how burning ivory contributes so largely to global warming. However, think of it this way. A major source of carbon in our atmosphere is due to deforestation. Deforestation accounts for 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Not only have we become desensitized to animal life, we've also not come to spare their home. My sixth point is that of innovative methods. Burning is not the only method, and there are so many more. Carbon residue sequestered from raw materials can be used to generate biomass energy in order to restore electricity in impoverished regions. My 8th point is that we're able to educate the public that we are strongly and firmly against the illegal trade of animals and products. My 9th point, and probably the one that I resonate with most deeply, is that of communication. All these pictures of animal products being destroyed sends a message to the world. It tells cultures that their work is absolutely futile. It sends a message that as a nation, we are intolerant of any form of advantage that's been taken of our animals. Destroy to deter poachers and save the animals for our future and the next generations. That should be the nation guiding statement first.
First name.
Mr. Chairman, impartial panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, distinguished guests, fellow debaters, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen. I respond to the name Nyanku Efia Juliet, and I'm a proud student of Great Kinbu Senior Technical School. The motion before the House this day, and I quote, the destruction of all confiscated wildlife products through combating wildlife crime is the ideal move towards protecting endangered species and sustaining life on Earth, unquote. And I, as a principal speaker, speak vehemently against the motion. Mr. Chairman, some people are of the view that destruction of confiscated wildlife products is the ideal move towards protecting endangered species. But it seems they have forgotten or are just blinking to the fact that burning of confiscated wildlife products releases carbon monoxide into the atmosphere, which is very detrimental to the health of humans, plants, and animals. Mr. Chairman, then take a look at these pictures. In there, we have the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, led by some other prominent people in the nation, burning confiscated wildlife products happily and proudly because they think that is the ideal way of fighting against wildlife crime. But they're forgetting they are rather causing harm to their health. Mr. Chairman, how about climate change? Are the proponents of burning aware of the effect it will have on real humans and fauna and flora? Mr. Chairman, we are here to protect wildlife species, but then it seems we are only focusing on those endangered species, leaving the life of free humans at stake and also the flora. Mr. Chairman, when there are no rains for a year, how are we going to survive? The plants wouldn't grow well because there are no rains to support its growth. And the animals too are going to find it difficult to get water to drink because the rivers are going to dry out due to the direct contact they have with the sunlight because the ozone layer is going to be depleted. Mr. Chairman, according to research from Wikipedia, made a report that in South Korea, about 1,950 people were poisoned by carbon monoxide, with 254 deaths from 2000 to 2003. It is not surprising that some African countries like South Africa, Namibia, Botswana are all against the banning of confiscated wildlife products. Mr. Chairman, how then are my opponents argue otherwise? Mr. Chairman, another side of the coin is that banning of confiscated wildlife products is not the ideal way of protecting endangered species, but then we can build museums to keep these wildlife products so that they can save us employment and also be a way of preserving these confiscated wildlife products. Mr. Chairman, the money collected from tourists who come to look at this wildlife product would serve as revenue to the government to provide developmental projects in the nation. Let us take a nation like the United States of America. They are really making good use of their wildlife products today by building museums to keep these things. And today they are counted as one of the superpowers in the nation. And we Africans are saying that we should ban this confiscated wildlife products. No, I don't think so. When we keep these things to do the things that we are also going to benefit from it, our nation is also going to be called a developed nation. We are still fighting to be called developed nations, but then we are trying to support our opponent to say that we should ban this confiscated wildlife products. Another point of noting is that confiscated wildlife products could be used to provide teaching aids. When we say this, teaching aids such as drawing boards, pointers, rulers, reconcile, just to mention about a few, could all be transformed from the use of rosal trees, like the confiscated product like the rosal tree, could be used to provide furniture for pupils in deprived areas. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question respectfully. Have you ever been to Kinbu Yoyo they sleep on bare floors and under trees just to study because there are no furniture. Mr. Chairman, another point of note is that confiscated wildlife products we use for traditional purposes in terms of traditional festivals, since some traditional festivals require certain parts of animal species. Let's take an example like the abortory festival. Before the abortory festival could be held, they're going for a yearly before as a sign of pacification and purification of the community. So, Mr. Chairman, when we keep this confiscated wildlife products in the warehouse, it will be very easy for them to retrieve them than going to the forest each year to kill these wildlife species, which will reduce the amount of wildlife species we have in the nation. Mr. Chairman, give Marshall panel of judges, accurate time, fellow students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I can see frustration written boldly on the faces of my
Okay, mine is not a question, it's more like a comment. I think we all know, most of us here, or contestants are already experienced in debating. My only caution I'll throw is, it's good to make your point very clearly, but avoid personal attacks on your opponent or the other as much as you can, but you can also make your point. So just be careful you don't go below the belt. But I'm not saying because of that, don't make your point strong. You can still make your point, but know that you don't need to go below the belt.
Just to add something, I think as much as possible, we want to follow the debate. We want to follow the presentation. So it is very, very important that each of the speakers who come here don't be in a haste to make time. So in rushing, we may not be able to pick some of the essential points that you are raising. So please note that, speak carefully and clearly so that we note the kind of things you are presenting. Else we might miss some essential things.
Thank you so much. Right now for our second round, are you guys ready? Did you take a deep breath? Yes. All right, I felt like I need to go get my high blood pressure medication. For our second round, we have a second affirmative. Please come. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rayan, and today I'm going to be relating to you the reason why the only way to save our ecosystem is to completely restore our country's wildlife. On the 30th of April in 2016, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta lit fires in Nairobi National Park that will ultimately incinerate over 100 tons of ivory. Later, in an editorial, he stated that his intent was to do my part to ensure that poachers and their accomplices would not benefit from the slaughter of Kenya's elephants. And his thinking is exactly right. My opponent said that ivory destruction increases emissions into the atmosphere, but it seems like they weren't paying attention. Ivory destruction is not exclusive to only ivory burning, and ivory burning is nowhere near the top list of contributors to global gas emissions. Recently, the governments of UAE and the Republic of Congo publicly destroyed their ivory stockpiles in Dubai, becoming the 11th and 12th countries to do so in recent years. Even though they're separated by thousands of miles, sitting on different continents and facing very different challenges, they are united in their determination to end illegal ivory trade. And they aren't alone. More and more countries across the globe are destroying their ivory stockpiles. Since 1989, 14 countries have destroyed over 130 tons of ivory, and 11 countries have destroyed 80 tons. The impacts of destroying wildlife waters are evident. This is a mere hearsay but actual fact. According to CNN, a study by Nature Research finds that there is a direct correlation between ivory destruction and declining poaching rates, with the mortality rates of 10% in 2011 falling to just 4% in 2017. The ivory burn is a highly visible political statement of intent. Kenya is relaying the message that ivory is worth as much as it is on elephants. This global awareness has led some of the largest participants in the ivory market, China and Japan, announcing stricter laws that move forward toward the dismantlement of their ivory markets. By putting ivory in the public eye, we open it up to more danger. According to Grace Figaro of the International Fund for Animal Welfare, destroying confiscated wildlife to fight illicit trade has actually worked before with another species, the Tibetan antelope. 10 years ago, the Chinese government destroyed Tibetan antelope cubs, which were long prioritized for their fur.
Then, China sent a signal asking the international community to help them to shut down the illegal trade. And everyone did. All the way from the increase in anti-poaching efforts to the adaptation of an alternative wool weaving in Kashmir. We know that the destruction of our ivory today will send the same message and bring success for our elephants. The arguments against the destruction of ivory stockpiles implies that having a legal supply of ivory is the answer to the poaching problem. It isn't. According to the representative of the Wild Aid NGO based in San Francisco, ARIS, previous attempts to store or sell ivory in the past have had disastrous results, increasing poaching like the But you really want to know why we need to destroy our ivory stockpiles? It's not just because of the symbolic power that it holds. It's also because 1, the amassments are expensive to guard and maintain, 2, because they're a huge security risk, and 3, because they require 24-hour surveillance and high-tech security compounds, which developing countries aren't able to afford. 6 stockpiles were robbed by armed gangs in 2015. The destruction of ivory is practical, and it sends a clear message to the world that there'll never be any tolerance, condemnation, or profit gained from the slaughter of our wildlife. It ensures that the reserve of confiscated items will never again be sold, and affirms the notion that we must end poaching immediately. We need to support the countries who demonstrate their commitment through action, and only if we all come together under a common plan can we secure for ourselves and our children a future where we no longer need to fear for our biodiversity and ecosystems. With these few points in mind, I hope that you've been able to convince you and not confuse you that the only way for us to move forward is to destroy our ivory stockpiles. Second.
Hello everyone. My name is Salom and I am here to support my principal speaker. We still stand against the motion. Mr. Chairman, one area to look at concerning this issue is processing of these ornaments, processing of these confiscated materials into ornaments. And this, more than 7 years ago, Gabon banned its government's house stockpile of ivory to match its commitment to poaching and illegal wildlife trade. The confiscated stock totals 4,825 kilograms, including 1,293 pieces of rough ivory. An overall quantity that would correspond to around 850 elephants. Can you imagine this? Let's do some small calculation over here. A kilo of ivory amounts to $2,100. So the 17,730 pieces of ivory will amount to $37,233,000. Wow! And the president led the whole country to spend this amount of money. In fact, the president should be persecuted because this amount of money can lead to developmental projects in the country. It can help to develop them. It can develop a country. Instead of banning this product, we can use this product. Instead of banning this product or destroying them, we can process them into ornaments that can help us that can be sold to other people. Come to think of it, when we destroy these ornaments, when we destroy these confiscated materials, 1, the product is lost, 2, the money is lost, and 3, the wildlife is also gone. So instead of thinking about destroying them, why don't we think about processing these confiscated materials into things that can be of benefit to us? Well, my opponent also said that products like ivory could not be sold because this is illegal at the terms of site. But then, do you think the best solution is to destroy them? How about if in the future, site is like, okay, let's try processing them and sell them. Okay, well, we agree that, okay, let's sell them. How about if site changes its mind? So instead of taking in that advice that we should destroy them, why don't we save them for the rainy season? Ladies and gentlemen, another point is this. Well, people are destroying this wildlife and also endangering some species. Okay, fine, then simply, let's domesticate these species. Domestication is the process of adapting wild plants and animals for human use. These species can be raised for food, work, clothing, medicine, and many others. Domesticated plants and animals must be raised and cared for by humans. Those endangered species can also be breeded, and this is the process of selective mating of animals and desirable genetic traits to maintain or enhance their traits in future generations. If this is done, the value will decrease and it will no longer be attractive for people to traffic. Do you know that there are animals living with us today which are domesticated? For example, we have the dogs, cats, sheep, goats, and many others. Now, people don't go in for all these these animals because they are here with us. And also, when we breed these animals and domesticate them, people will no longer go in for their products. Rather, this will rather sustain plants and animal life. Finally, Mr. Chairman, another area to consider is the strict enforcement of the law against destruction of these products. While the destruction of confiscated elephants, ivory, or rhino horn will not in itself stop the illegal trade, in elephants, ivory, or rhino horn. But when vigorous measures are taken or put in place by law enforcement agencies, this alone will serve as a deterrent to other people who want to partake in this. So people could be punished, people could send long-term imprisonment, and they could be given large, heartbreaking fines to pay. And this will prevent other people from taking part in this. To Mr. Chairman, incorruptible panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, fellow students, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case here. It is now clear that sustaining wildlife on Earth is not achieved through destruction, but preservation, protection, and value addition. Thank you.
All right, so if you are ready, we have the third affirmative and last speaker.
Today, I'm going to be speaking for the motion of the destruction of wildlife for all protocols to be observed. My opponent believes that we need to save our ivory for a rainy day. 6 stockpiles have been robbed and innocent people have died. It is selfish to put future profit over human lives. Poaching does not only affect animals, but humans too. For example, in Africa, between 2009 and 2016, nearly 600 rangers protecting the wildlife were shot by poachers. In regards to the point about burning money, is my opponent suggesting that money takes priority over animal life? And animals over stockpiles? As the principal speaker of my team has stated, deforestation is the biggest cause of release of carbon emissions. Here are some other main causes. 1. Burning fossil fuels. This produces 87% of human carbon dioxide emissions. 2. Ocean-to-atmosphere exchange. This produces 42.84% of natural carbon dioxide emissions. And 3. Transportation. This produced 28.9% of 2017 greenhouse gases. This short list shows that burning ivory once in a while will have no major effect on the environment. And if you're really worried about the release of CO2 emissions, then we should first focus on stopping these. So here are some ways we can stop CO2 emissions. First, find an alternative to driving. Instead of driving your car everywhere, you could walk or take a bike or even carpool. 2. Food. Approximately 13% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions result from the production and transportation of food. Buy local and eat a more diverse diet, including less meat and dairy, to reduce your carbon emissions, resulting from the use of fossil fuel-based fertilizer, pesticides, and gas required to produce and transport the food you eat. And 3. Support renewable resources. Whenever you can, advocate for alternatives to fossil fuels, such as wind, solar, geothermal, and appropriately designed hydroelectric and biomass energy networks. Some people may think that destroying the product is a waste, but according to National Geographic, from the years 2014 to 2017, over 100,000 African elephants alone were killed. Each year, more than 1,000 rhinos are killed for their horns. But as my fellow debaters have proved, in places where ivory is destroyed, the poaching rates have been lowered. So in the long run, it is in fact will not be a waste, but will be help in preserving the animals that are being poached.
And the third negative.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I respond to the name problem when I bring to you felicitations from Kinbu Senior High Technical School. Mr. Chairman, I will not disturb your eardrum to the explanations of the keyword innovation, as my principal speaker has already done that. Mr. Chairman, as a supporter speaker, I am here to convey to you that, indeed, burning or destruction of the wildlife product is not the ideal move towards wildlife, but rather preservation and value addition. Mr. Chairman, instead of banning it, it is in our case that a seized product should rather be preserved in the actualized and other centers under the authority of the state for future use or research. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to ask, is it really good to destroy all wildlife products when it will be beneficial to the world in the next few years and beyond? How will the world feel? How will you feel? How will I feel if after 2 years and beyond, research discovers that the bent turtle cells, ivory, and then the horse, just to mention, by a few, is the key ingredient or the essential ingredient to cure certain diseases such as HIV/AIDS, Ebola, and even the recent coronavirus. There is no need to answer because your faith has shown it all. Ladies and gentlemen, so you see, if the wildlife products are being preserved, it will save the death of many lives and be of benefit to the young and the unborn generations. I can see all my old ones knowing their head in agreement to the project that we have achieved. I, therefore, call upon them and the entire audience to support us hippopotamously in saying that the destruction of the wildlife product is not the way forward. However, preservation of the value addition. Thank you.